These are two versions of The Little Mermaid separated by over 150 years, and the differences between them reveal one of the darkest and most heartbreaking stories in fairy tale history. What most people know as a Disney romance about following your dreams was originally a tale of unrequited love, excruciating pain, and a tragic ending that left its heroine dissolved into sea foam. What we're doing today is uncovering the real story behind The Little Mermaid, starting with Hans Christian Andersen's devastating original tale from 1837, moving through the theories about what actually inspired him to write it, and ending with how Disney transformed the whole thing into something unrecognizable in 1989. We need to start with what Andersen actually wrote, because if Disney's version is all you know, what you're about to hear will shock you. April 7, 1837, Danish author Hans Christian Andersen published Den Lille Havfrue as part of his collection called Fairy Tales Told for Children, and The Little Mermaid that appeared in those pages had almost nothing in common with what we recognize today. Andersen's mermaid doesn't even get a name. She's just the Little Mermaid, a 15-year-old living beneath the sea who dreams about the world above water. When she saves a prince from drowning, she falls completely in love with him. But here's where the problems start piling up. Mermaids in Andersen's world don't have immortal souls, which means when they die, they simply stop existing and dissolve into sea foam, while humans get souls that live forever. Two desires consume the mermaid completely, winning the prince's love and gaining an immortal soul. She goes to the sea witch, who makes her an offer with a price that's almost unbearable. The witch cuts out the mermaid's tongue, taking her voice permanently, not just borrowing it or putting it in a shell. Every single step the mermaid takes on her new legs will feel like walking on sharp knives, and if the prince marries someone else, the morning after his wedding, the mermaid will die and turn into sea foam. The mermaid takes the deal. She gets her legs. The pain hits her exactly as promised, agonizing with every step, and she reaches the prince. He finds her beautiful and keeps her near him, treating her with kindness. But he doesn't fall in love with her because he can't. She has no voice to explain that she saved his life, so he treats her almost like a pet or a child, while his heart stays fixed on someone else, a princess from a neighboring kingdom he believes rescued him from the sea. The prince marries this other princess. The mermaid's heart shatters, but she dances at their wedding despite the knife-like pain shooting through her feet because she knows she'll die the next morning. That night, her sisters surface from the sea with their beautiful hair chopped off, having made their own terrible bargain with the sea witch in exchange for a knife. They explain the terms: kill the prince and let his blood drip on her feet, and she'll become a mermaid again with 300 years of life still ahead of her. The mermaid takes the knife, goes to the room where the prince sleeps beside his new bride, and raises the blade above him. She can't do it. Her love for him runs too deep to kill him, even to save herself. So she throws the knife into the sea and throws herself after it, expecting to dissolve into foam and cease to exist completely. Something different happens though. Instead of dying entirely, she becomes what's called a daughter of the air, a spiritual being who might eventually earn an immortal soul through good deeds after centuries of service. No wedding, no kiss, no happily ever after. Just the consolation prize of maybe earning what she wanted most if she works at it long enough. That's the real Little Mermaid. Nothing but sacrifice, suffering, and unrequited love. Understanding why Andersen wrote such a devastating story means understanding who he was as a person. Hans Christian Andersen lived from 1805 to 1875 in Denmark and wrote more than 150 fairy tales over his lifetime, creating original literary stories rather than collecting folk tales like the Brothers Grimm did. His tales stood apart from other fairy tales of his era because they were darker, more melancholic, packed with themes of suffering and transformation. Stories like The Ugly Duckling, The Emperor's New Clothes, and The Little Match Girl featured outsiders and people who didn't fit in, with endings that weren't always happy. Andersen himself lived as an outsider most of his life. Detailed diaries and correspondence he kept throughout his years reveal someone who struggled with his place in Danish society, felt sensitive about criticism of his work, and experienced deep feelings that often went unreturned. Which brings us to the question scholars have wrestled with for decades. What inspired The Little Mermaid? The timing and themes of this story point to something deeply personal happening when Andersen put pen to paper. 2 years before The Little Mermaid appeared in print, in 1835, Andersen wrote a letter to a man named Edvard Collin. Collin had been Andersen's close friend for years, someone he felt profoundly connected to. And in this letter, Andersen expressed emotional attachment so intense that modern readers recognise it as sounding very much like romantic love. Then Edvard Collin married a woman named Henrietta Tyberg in 1836. And just months after Collin's wedding, in 1837, Andersen published The Little Mermaid, a story about someone who loves deeply, transforms themselves hoping to be loved back, loses their voice and can never express their true feelings, then watches the object of their affection marry someone else. The parallels hit you immediately. Many scholars believe The Little Mermaid captures Andersen's way of processing his unrequited feelings for Edvard Collin, a story about loving someone who will never love you the same, watching them choose someone else, experiencing the pain of transformation and the impossibility of expressing who you really are. Scholars debate this interpretation, though, and that's worth mentioning. Whether Andersen's feelings for Collin were romantic or an intense platonic friendship is something Andersen never explicitly confirmed. What the evidence shows is that he felt deeply for Collin. Collin's marriage affected him profoundly, and The Little Mermaid appeared shortly after. The Collin theory isn't the only way to read the story, though. You can also interpret it more broadly as Andersen's autobiography about feeling like an outsider, struggling with physical appearance and social acceptance, transforming yourself to fit into a world that never fully accepts you. These themes ran through Andersen's entire life and body of work. Recent years have brought another interpretation that's gained traction. Particularly in the last few decades, scholars and readers now interpret The Little Mermaid as a metaphor for queer identity, with themes of hiding your true self, transformation, feeling like you're in the wrong body, and unrequited love that can never be spoken aloud. These elements resonate powerfully with LGBTQ experiences, and whether Andersen intended this reading or not, the story has become meaningful to many people for exactly these reasons. The Little Mermaid stayed Andersen's dark tale of sacrifice and loss for over 150 years. English translations appeared in the 1840s, where Victorian audiences appreciated the moral and religious themes, particularly the idea of earning an immortal soul through suffering, which fit perfectly with Christian values of that era. The story got adapted many times over the years into ballets, operas, and stage productions, but everything shifted when Walt Disney Feature Animation released their version on November 17, 1989. Directors John Musker and Ron Clements brought it to life with music by composer Alan Menken and lyricist Howard Ashman, working with a production budget of approximately $40 million. Disney changed almost everything. The mermaid got a name first, Ariel, becoming a character with personality, spunk, and agency, instead of a nameless figure of suffering. She collects human artifacts and dreams of being part of that world with a father named King Triton and friends like Sebastian the Crab and Flounder the Fish, all original characters Disney created. Ursula the Sea Witch became a theatrical villain with her own motivations instead of just a deal maker. But the ending is where Disney flipped the script completely. Ariel gets her voice back, defeats Ursula in battle, makes Prince Eric realize he loves her, gets transformed into a human permanently by King Triton, and marries Eric on a ship while everyone celebrates. Andersen's Mermaid sacrifices everything and gets nothing, while Disney's Ariel sacrifices everything and gets everything she wanted. The movie exploded. Box office receipts hit $2.2 million worldwide. The film won 2 Academy Awards for Best Original Score and Best Original Song with Under the Sea. Critics praised it, and audiences loved it. But here's the thing. The Little Mermaid did more than just make money. Disney's animation department had been struggling for years with declining success before 1989, and this film kicked off what's now called the Disney Renaissance, a golden period from 1989 to 1999 that produced Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin and the Lion King. The entire template for modern Disney princess films changed because of this movie. Yet this transformation came with complications that people started noticing. Disney's story still centers on a young woman giving up her voice for a man, and feminist critics have pointed out that while Ariel has more personality than Andersen's Mermaid, the core dynamic remains the same. She silences herself for love. Some people see this as progressive because Ariel actively pursues what she wants, while others see it as problematic because she gives up her identity and family for someone she barely knows. Disney's version also shifted every theme in the original. Where Andersen wrote about sacrifice without reward, Disney made it about following your dreams and rebelling against parental authority. Where Andersen's tale carried melancholic and spiritual weight, Disney's sparkled with romance and optimism. They're almost different stories that just happen to share some characters and plot points. 2 major forms of The Little Mermaid now exist for the general public: Andersen's original and Disney's adaptation, both shaping how millions of people understand the story, though most people under 50 only know Disney's version. Andersen's tale continues getting taught in literature courses worldwide, translated into over 150 languages, and remains one of his most famous works, even though stories like The Ugly Duckling and The Emperor's New Clothes were actually more popular during his lifetime. Denmark made The Little Mermaid a national symbol. August 23, 1913, a statue of the mermaid was unveiled in Copenhagen harbour, sculpted by Edvard Eriksson and commissioned by Carl Jacobsen, founder of the Carlsberg Brewery. That statue became one of Copenhagen's most iconic landmarks, though vandals have attacked it multiple times over the years. Disney's influence keeps growing. They released a live-action remake on May 26, 2023 with Halle Bailey as Ariel, and that version earned $569.6 million worldwide, despite significant online debate about casting choices before its release. The Little Mermaid remains a profitable property and cultural touchstone for the studio. Something interesting has happened recently, though. As more people learn about Andersen's original story, renewed interest has emerged in what he actually wrote versus what Disney created. Academic interest in queer readings of Andersen's work has increased, and people are asking harder questions about the messages in both versions. Questions about voice, sacrifice, transformation, and love. What we're left with is 2 Little Mermaids, one from 1837 and one from 1989, one ending in seafoam and spiritual redemption, the other in marriage and happily ever after. Hans Christian Andersen wrote a story about loving someone who would never love you back, about the pain of transformation giving everything and receiving nothing, being an outsider looking in. Whether he was writing about Edvard Collins specifically, or his broader experience of being different in a world that didn't understand him, we'll never know for certain. But the pain in that story reads as real. Disney took that same framework and created something fundamentally different. A story about pursuing your dreams, happy endings being possible, love conquering all obstacles. They gave audiences what Andersen never gave his mermaid: a voice returned, a love reciprocated, a transformation that actually works. Both versions carry value and both have influenced millions of people, but they're teaching very different lessons. Andersen's Little Mermaid tells us that sometimes you sacrifice everything and don't get what you want, that love isn't always returned. Transformation is painful and doesn't always lead where you hoped, and being different means suffering. Disney's Little Mermaid tells us that if you're brave enough to pursue what you want, you might actually get it, that love can be mutual and happy endings exist. The shocking true story behind The Little Mermaid isn't just that the original was darker, it's that these two versions reveal completely opposite ways of understanding love, sacrifice, and what it means to transform yourself for someone else. One serves as a warning, while the other offers encouragement. Which version you know, which version shaped your understanding of love and sacrifice, probably depends entirely on when you were born and whether anyone ever told you there was another story underneath.